remember your earliest childhood dreams? What you aspired to be, or perhaps what you really did not want to be? I still remember my brother watching the rubbish trucks, wishing that he could be a bin man. Everything that we are exposed to, all the experiences that we have, shape us into the people that we are, here, today, right now. One little girl, like many around her, dreamed of becoming a famous Hollywood movie star. And she had her big break at the age of 7, when she was cast as the lead character for her school play, The Firebird. She was so excited. She saw this as the start of a glittering career, until her teacher told her that she would no longer be playing the Firebird, but would be the silver tree instead. An avid ballerina, the little girl questioned why she was no longer the dancing lead. And the teacher told her, well, Sarah has the right colour hair, just like the Firebird. And the little girl replied, well, I may not have the right colour hair, but I'm not silver either. And so I was painted silver and forced to stand motionless for all 20 minutes of the play. My dreams of Hollywood shattered, and I became a lawyer instead. That day, I learned that I would need to accept being treated differently because of the way that I look. But more importantly, 40 other children in my class learned that it would be okay to treat someone differently because of the way that they look. Today, I'd like to share with you some of my experiences in this thing called life. Experiences that have contributed to me standing here in front of you. I want to talk to you about the realities faced by some in terms of participating in sport. I want to show you how sport is changing diversity in the boardroom. And finally, I want to open your minds to the possibility of what if. Biases, often unconscious, create divisions across all levels of society, from schools to sports clubs to the boardroom. But they are no one's fault. We are all the product of the influences around us. Parents, teachers, television, books, our peers. But it is our awareness of our own automatic beliefs that enable us to make change, to disrupt our own and others' existing behaviours. And this disruption is positive. If nurtured in the right way, it can be a catalyst for change. Disruptors often force a quicker evolution, but for some, that can be uncomfortable. By questioning why colour mattered in that instance, the 7-year-old me was disrupting the norm without even being aware. So what made the difference for me, from the little silver tree to the lawyer and businesswoman? Sport, as I'm sure many of you can relate to, was an escape for me from the challenges of growing up, and also from being the odd one out. It's always been a part of my life, from competing to the last 15 years or so, delivering sport on the international stage. But most significantly, sport taught me resilience, and for that, I am so grateful today. Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of the Olympic movement, once said, "The most important thing is not winning, it's taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering, but fighting well." On the sports field, it should not matter what we look like or where we come from. All that should matter is that you turn up and do your best. However, society has not always viewed sport in this way, especially when governments and elite sports institutions have focused on a win-at-all-costs mentality. Medals before everything else. Times are changing. The intersection of sport and diversity is incredibly impersonal to me. When I was 17, I was an athlete at London club Shaftesbury Barnet Harriers. But I was also incredibly privileged to represent my school, which was and still is renowned for sport in the UK. I watched as incredibly talented athletes dropped out of my club right there in front of my eyes. more often than not, girls and ethnic minorities. Why, when they had such indisputable talent? Because we, as an industry, were failing these girls. Reframing Sport for Teenage Girls, a piece of research commissioned by UK charity Women in Sport and funded by Sport England, found that 43% of teenage girls who used to enjoy and participate in sport were being sidelined and made to feel not good enough. This number was 24% for boys of the same age. They labelled this the missed opportunity. The research also found that 59% of young girls who used to be sporty did in fact enjoy competitive sport, but were being failed due to early years stereotyping, inadequate opportunities. Simply put, girls lack the opportunity to play sport as they get older unless they are really good. Teenage girls are not voluntarily leaving sport. They are being forced out due to deep-rooted gender stereotypes. Those unconscious biases, once again. So why does this make any difference? I feel incredibly fortunate to have been able to combine my passion and turn it into a career. Having been a sprinter in my younger years, it was a real pinch-me moment when I watched Usain Bolt break the 100, the 200, and the 4x100 metre relay world records at the World Championships in Berlin in 2009, as part of my job. Some people call me lucky, but I don't believe I'm special. I believe I just seized the opportunities that were placed in front of me. And I do not see it as a coincidence that I've got to where I have in my industry, despite not looking like everyone around me. And I believe that that is all thanks to sport. Let's be clear, it hasn't been an easy path. The daughter of immigrant parents in the 1970s, I was the only non-white child at my Catholic primary school, and then went on to being a scholarship kid at one of the most prestigious sports schools in the world, one where Britishness and wealth gave you status. Apparently, I had neither. My parents had given up a very comfortable life in Sri Lanka, largely to give my brother and my unborn self opportunity. And in their beautiful naivety, they most likely believed that they protected us from racism. But then again, I never told them about the often aggressive comments from random strangers or other episodes which, when you're young and you have not yet formed your rational thinking, can just be plain confusing. But it is a strong mind that is able to fight these misjudged perceptions. And of course, these influenced me, and I struggled with confidence in my late teens and early 20s. But it's the ability to channel these negative experiences and learn from them that is what enables us to achieve our goals. So given that the experiences that I was having were actually fueling my self-doubt, I believe that my confidence comes from playing sport. First and foremost, sport is fun, and it can be central to communities like ours here in the mountains. But more significantly, sport teaches us really important life lessons. It teaches us things like team mentality, community, communication, and leadership skills. It teaches us resilience. It teaches us to learn to lose, and in a safe environment. When I started out as a sports lawyer, I had so many knockbacks in the form of job rejections, and it would have been incredibly simple for me just to have carried on with my then successful career negotiating IT outsourcing agreements. But these rejections did not faze me. In fact, they inspired me to try harder, to take a step back and evaluate what I needed to be doing to change my situation. Can you imagine if the first time that you ever failed or lost was in relation to a multi-million-dollar transaction? It would break the resolve of anyone, and no doubt has. So how does this relate to changing the boardroom? We do not have to look far to see that women's sport is enjoying its moment, and that women athletes are breaking barriers like never before. In England, our women's football team, the Lionesses, just broke records to become the European football champions in a tournament that rivaled the men's at every level. Alongside this, however, is a global fight for gender parity. According to the SDP Gender Index, we are still significantly off course for the UN's goal of equal pay by 2030, which means that women are still being significantly disadvantaged in the workplace. And this translates across all levels of society, including a general perception of inferiority. So sport, however, might hold the answer to accelerating this change, and not simply through increased visibility of success on the playing field. In 2017, Ernst & Young and ESPNW undertook a study as to why women athletes make great entrepreneurs. They found that 94% of female C-suite executives played sport. 52% of those played to university level or higher. And 3/4 of all executives interviewed believe that a background in sport could accelerate a woman's career. Women may not be winning the fight for equality, but when you introduce a background of sport into the mix, we propel women out there and give them one step forward to levelling that playing field. As I like to call it, the 94% club. So therefore, more women playing sport could, in theory, lead to a greater pool of female CEO, executive, and boardroom level candidates. And if we're able to reframe sport for teenage girls and keep more girls playing sport, the evidence suggests that this will, in the longer term, lead to greater gender diversity. Because all athletes have a unique advantage of thriving on healthy competition, strong determination, and a committed work ethic. But in order to achieve this equality, we need to counter the bias. And that's where events like the most recent Women's Euro final, filling Wembley Stadium with more than 87,000 spectators, which, by the way, was a record attendance for any Euro final, men's or women's. That really starts to change the narrative. And the more we see women playing, competing, and succeeding, the more we can change the conversation. And the more acceptable it becomes, the more likely we are to retain that 59% of teenage girls. The momentum shift is happening. The key point in all of this is diversity. Diversity at all levels, but in particular, diversity at decision-making, C-suite, and board level, because this enables diversity of opinion. And if this diversity is given an effective voice, this is how organizations can stay relevant and initiate change. But what if we focused on making sport truly integrated? How would our boardrooms look then? What if we were able to engage all sorts of ethnic diverse groups and disabled people, for example, and all underrepresented groups were able to benefit from the life lessons that sport taught me? Making sport truly inclusive and diverse will translate to making society more accepting and representative of our actual makeup. Today, I just want to get you all thinking about the realm of possibility. Acclaimed Paralympian and wheelchair racer Baroness Tanni Grey-Thompson once told me that she constantly hears how London 2012 changed the world for disabled people. Yet today, she is still unable to access all of London's tube network. Sport can change perceptions, but then we need action. Today, here in Verbier, in the centre of my sporting world, and in the context of connectivity, I'm making that call to action to each and every one of you. I may not have succeeded in my fight to retain my role as the Firebird all those many years ago, but I'm doing everything I can to change perceptions today. Women can play sport, and women do make great leaders. And just because someone doesn't have the same background or the same skin colour as you, that doesn't mean that they need to be a threat. The 94% club is gaining momentum. But how about we open up that club to everybody? Just imagine what we could achieve. Thank you.